right? So think about this. If you're full-time in production and you do what we're telling you to do here, and you dial in your CRM system and you're making phone calls, it's multiple six figures a year, with a relatively small database. Like I have a very hygienic database, meaning that I keep it very clean. So I have less than 2,000 contacts in my database right now, but I still make six figures a year off of it. Because those were leads that have been nurtured over a period of time. And I'm still bringing new leads in, but anybody who opts out, I kick them out. They don't need to be there. They just confuse me later and make me feel overwhelmed. So I boot them out. And then just worry about what's coming in and how many people you can nurture. And next thing you know, you put 20% of the effort in and you get maximum results.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the Texas Real Estate and Finance Podcast. I am your host, Mike Mills, a local North Texas mortgage banker with Service First Mortgage. And today I have Mr. Adam Gillespie with me, and we are going to get into all things databases and, of course, my favorite topic, AI. And maybe we'll skirt off in a few other directions from what we were talking about before we got on here. We were a minute or two behind because we fell down a rabbit hole, but that's all right. We'll maybe touch on some of what we talked about, not all of it. But anyway, Adam, I really appreciate you being here, man. Adam is a Colorado realtor with EXP, part of the Wolfpack. He also runs a coaching program called Apex Elite AI, where he coaches agents on how to use database management along with AI tools in order to get the most out of your business. In fact, he won an award for this in 2024 with Inman as the AI leader. So to say that he knows what he's talking about this stuff would be a little bit of an understatement. So Adam, I always like to just jump right into it and kind of get started. We'll get to your backstory and talk some more fun stuff here towards the end. But I really wanted to dive into databases, because I think that, and everybody talks about it, but I don't think it is as well focused on or as focused on as it should be in our industry, because databases are the lifeblood of every agent and loan officer's, business. And, posting on social media is great, and meeting with clients is great, and having coffees and doing all that kind of stuff is awesome. But your book of business, your contacts, your sphere, all of that stuff is so incredibly important, not only to making sales, but also to having a career in this business. So I want you to talk a little bit first off about, how, why agents don't really command their database as well as they should, and what you found, in really focusing on that and what it's done for your business.
Yeah, man. Totally agree with you. It's the lifeblood of our business. And I think what it is that a lot of times in real estate, because of the way that we work and the way it is, that a lot of agents kind of treat it more like a gig versus a business, right? Before I did all of my musician stuff, I used to work in call centers. And in a call center, we had to document every single thing that we did, right? So I did warranty administration. So I was like the guy that would deny your extended car warranty claim when your alternator went out. So it wasn't a fun job.
I like how you said deny it.
It's crooked.
It is.
But like we would always have to document this, right? So when I came into real estate and I got introduced to my first CRM, my first thought was like, oh, okay, this is like the call centers. Right. I'm going to hold everybody into here. And it makes sense, right? You got to look at like Meta and Google and all these other big companies like Apple. Their number one source of information that they're after is our data. Right. So if you compile those things together, it only makes sense. Like I should probably put as much data as I can into my database to not only give my company value, but to be able to nurture and automate a lot of the nurturing process to these not so ready clients. Right. We always talk to real estate leads on a regular basis that aren't ready. If we don't have proper systems and automations put in place to nurture them for us, then they're going to fall through the cracks. And that's just the way it is. So I realized this really early on, and I've always just treated my database as my number one thing. I log into it first thing in the morning. I look at my task list, all the calls that I have to make. What's not being automated, I have to do manually, which is very little now, thanks to AI. And I can know that nobody's falling through the cracks. All of these people are still being nurtured. And that's what gets rid of those hills and valleys that we all experience.
Well, and, to your point, when you look at the most valuable companies on the planet, Google, Meta, X, I don't know if they're up there yet, but, these massive companies, these tech companies, they trade in data. That's where their business, we use all these platforms for free, essentially. I mean, to some extent, but ultimately they make billions of dollars because they have our data and they sell our data to the highest, to anybody that wants it. And so
Yep.
for people in our industry to not understand or really fully get the value of that data is still mind-boggling to me, because when I ask, as a lender, and I do classes on AI and talk about, database management and all this kind of stuff too. And I'll be in a class of 20 agents and I'll ask them, I'll say, okay, who has a database? And everybody raises their hand. Oh, I got one. Okay. And then I'll say, okay, and I'll point to somebody and say, okay, what's your database? And they go, oh, well, I have an Excel sheet at home that I have my most recent contacts on. I'm like, and I'm like, well, how many people are on that? And they'll say, oh, about 50. And I'm like, okay, so all you did was keep all the transactions that you did and all the people on each side. I'm like, do you have the agents that you worked with? Do you have the brothers and sisters? No, I don't have, do you have you're a part of PTA? Do you have your PTA group? And no, I don't. And so it's like, we know this, and everybody knows, like, yeah, I got a database matters, but the emphasis on it should be so much greater than it is because of how many people trade on this. And, one of the things that I've seen a lot lately that I really drives the point even further home for me is, a lot of, social influencers, the Gary V's of the world and whatnot, will talk about how you can build an audience on Instagram and you can build an audience on YouTube and you can build an audience on Facebook and you can have thousands of people, watching your content and seeing it every day. But the first time that you post something that they don't like or that they're not happy about or whatever the case may be, they can demonetize you and shut down your entire channel, and that entire audience is gone, right? So these third party, platforms control who you get to reach out to and see. Who doesn't control you, or who has control over your database? You. So if you're always marketing to that and that's your number one priority, I feel like the success rate for you getting clients and getting deals is going to be that much greater. And now that we've added AI to this, to the next level of it, now all of these tasks that used to be tedious and a pain in the butt to do are now automated and now can be done for you without even having to think, outside of a little bit of setup. So
Yep.
So you do a lot. I know the one that you use is Lofty. So I know there's lots of them out there, but tell me a little bit about what you found and the types of things that you do with your database you've been able to automate with AI.
Yeah. So a lot of people think when you talk about AI in a database, they just immediately think chatbot, right? I'm going to have this chatbot that's going to reach out to my leads, that's going to qualify them, that's going to convert them, and then I'm just going to have to show them a house. Doesn't really work like that.
Right.
Okay. Sorry to bust any bubbles out there, but chatbots can be useful if we can fine tune them properly.
Right.
And where I think a lot of the mishap is going on in the industry right now is that people are plugging into AI systems that are operated by a CRM and expecting this to know everything about them, and it doesn't. So it might cost you more deals. So the way that I integrated AI into my business was really more on the creation of a lot of stuff, right? So think about your website, right? Like I literally go through, I train ChatGPT, and this is obviously, you may have talked to your group about this before, but proper prompt engineering, right? So like role priming a chat to take a specific role will give you significantly better results than if you don't role prime it. So what I would do is I would say, hey, you're an expert digital marketing agency and you specialize in graphics design and website development. I'm going to screenshot my current website template and I'm going to feed you all of the information about my business and how I speak. And then you're going to tell me how I should build this website out. So then we go screen by screen on the website where ChatGPT is like, basically, okay, for proper SEO optimization in this section here, you're going to want to have this statement here that aligns with your business and aligns with your SEO keywords on the back end of the website. So I basically have this coach or this consultant that knows a lot. And the crazy thing about this is like, this data set that that ChatGPT and Gemini and Grok and all these large language models are trained on, they have taken in so much information that would be physically impossible for a human being to do in even 10,000 years at the rate that we can absorb information. So when you think about utilizing AI as a marketing director or as a graphics designer, it's going to know a conglomeration of all the world's knowledge that was available online for that given subject. So you're literally working with some of the best, if not the best.
Yeah.
right? So we can get really good outcomes. So I do it for things like website. I do it for like all of my drip campaigns, right? Most people jump into a CRM and they're like, oh, where's the drip can library or the drip campaign library? So I can just take all these canned drip emails and stick them in and then complain in 3 months when nobody responds.
Right.
Why is that? It's because they're not tailored to you, right? So I'll go into ChatGPT or into Gemini and I'll say, hey, you will act as an expert marketing director specializing in CRM automation and drip campaign creation. And you will help me design a drip campaign that's going to run for 2 years, sending out 2 emails a month based on a virtual process of purchasing a home, right? Then all of a sudden it spits out this outline. Right now, remember, I'm feeding it all of my information about my business. So I've gone through another consultative process with ChatGPT previously where we go into the 10 major aspects of any company and I give it my mission statement or I create it within it. And I basically built this entire profile and I save it in a document. And then I upload it to these chats when I'm doing it. And then now when it's like, okay, I'm going to create a 2-year campaign, sending 2 emails a month that are based on the virtual process of buying a home, I don't just get a generic virtual process. I get a virtual process based on where I'm located, my personality, my target avatar, the way that I sell things, and then it comes out with my personality in that. So now the email is speaking like me.
Right.
So if you guys hang out with me long enough on this podcast, you're going to know I don't talk like a typical realtor. So a lot of my emails will be like, hey, what's up, dude? Like, thanks for checking out more information about my first time home buyer program. Did you know this, and this? Right. And I just focus on education and information versus psychological sales techniques,
Right.
because the reality is that nobody wants to be sold to anymore. Those days are long gone. People want to be advised. They want to be consulted.
Yeah.
They want to know how to make the decisions themselves and be comfortable with it. So I've adopted that view, and then I utilize AI to create all of this messaging, and then I put it into automation systems inside the CRM to where the only thing I have to worry about is making a phone call. Everything else is handled automatically. So we're talking automatic property alerts, automatic market updates, automatic email sequences, automatic text sequences, and they each come in and go in a specific area in my database based on the lead source, right? So if it's a Facebook first-time home buyer, they have their own lane to go down all the way through the sale and after the sale. And if they're a downsizer that came in off of Google, they have their area. So the correspondences that go out automatically aren't being put out by AI. They're being put out by an automation based on the context that I fed my AI, and we created that correspondence. Highly effective.
Right.
And like, without going down a rabbit hole, like, I'm talking linear, guys. So I'm finding out what my client's personality is based on their social media presence. And then I'm feeding them a drip campaign that's tailored towards them based on their disc profile. Right. So I'll have 4 different campaigns for each campaign that I used AI to create that's going to speak in each of the 4 categories of the disc. And then I can send it out to these people. So now I'm talking to them on a subconscious level with real valuable information, which results in sales.
Well, and that's I think that's the next level that I think gets missed when we talk about AI, because like you said before, when people think about AI, they just think they're going to push a button and everything's going to do everything for them. And there is, to some degree, on certain things that is true. But the idea behind it, really, to take it to a whole other level, is to personalize it, like you said, and to take it, not only personalize it to the client, but also personalize it to you, because people buy from, and you want to sell to people that are like you, right? You want to sell to people that fall into similar patterns of you. Like, you're probably not going to sell to the guy who plays classical violin, who, has wears khakis all day long and, does things. I mean, maybe, but, because those guys can get pretty hardcore too. But you want to sell to people, and people are going to buy from you because they see themselves to some extent in you. Like, I want to work with that guy, right? So when you can train these bots, and you can train ChatGPT to respond the way that you respond, to interact the way that you interact, and to communicate the way that you communicate, the effectiveness of it goes up so much. And then when you add on the layer that you just talked about, which is, now not only am I going to personalize myself, but now I'm going to personalize it to the client and what they're into and the way that they want to be communicated to. Now you've got it on overdrive. Now, the reality is, like you said earlier, this takes a lot of setup. This isn't something that you can just walk in and push a button and get started. But what I found in my own personal AI journey is learning little things along the way on how to set up different automations, how to use things like Zapier and integrate them with, spreadsheets in Google that talk to chat and communicate back and forth, send out stuff that you'll start to pick these things up, and it becomes less and less, it's like learning a new language. If I want to learn Spanish, right, I can sit in front of a book all day long and try to read it and recite words. But if I immerse myself into it, if I go to Spain and I spend my time around people speaking the language every single day, I'm going to learn it much faster. I'm going to become much more cognitively involved in it, so my brain adapts it quicker. And so, if I recommend anything to anybody, it's like, look, just start using it on a small scale, and then you will see the possibilities, because your own brain will go, wait a minute, we could use it here, we could do this with it. Okay, I've got to learn this aspect, right? So
Yeah.
that gets to the coaching side of things. So this is one of the things that, that you've built a business on, is coaching agents on how to use these tools. So where do you usually start with people when they come in fresh and go, look, I don't have any idea what I'm doing, I really want to learn how to do this? Like, what is your kind of starting point for a lot of your clients?
Yeah, I mean, for people that have never used AI before and that are like, hey, I know I need to implement this, but I just don't know where to start, use it like Google.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't do Google searches anymore.
Right.
I will go to ChatGPT or Gemini. It's mostly Gemini now because I got the new Pixel phone and it's got Gemini integrated into it. But guys, it's changing the entire landscape, right? And I think a lot of people don't get into tech because they're worried they won't know how to work it.
Right.
And like, you're not going to break it. You can't break this stuff. Like you're just using it, right? So you need to just dive into it and start using it. Use it to search for, your market updates if you want, or answer your next question on Google, or instead of going to Google. And you'll start to see, like you said, the possibilities, because this is exactly how I got started. All right. So November of 2022, there was a little publication that came out that said, hey, ChatGPT 3.5 is now available to the public, right? And it was available before then. You could usually get it on like a beta mode, or you could sign up as a developer, but the public facing really didn't come out till then. So I get this call from my sister and she's like, did you hear about ChatGPT? And I'm like, no, what is this? And she sends me it and I sign up and I start using it. I'm like, cool. This is going to be the new Google. Totally. Right. Instead of me having to type in my search query into Google and then go through all these web pages myself to find the answer, this thing's going to do it for me.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's going to scrape all that information and give me the overall summary, which in my opinion was better than just taking it from one single source. Right. So I started using it. And like you said, you just start using it and all of a sudden you get an idea. And really what that idea was, that very first idea for me was like, man, I wish this thing could talk like me. That would be so cool if I could have a conversation with it and it talked like me. And then I could have it write this email, right? Because we had already started hearing that it could do this stuff, but most of us were just using it. Anybody that was using AI wasn't really personalizing it. So we were getting these emails that's like, hey, Mike, I hope this email finds you well and in good spirits. Yeah. And we'd start seeing words like, today we're going to delve into this. And they would, for some reason, ChatGPT was like obsessed with the ocean. So it wants to constantly navigate rough waters and, start our voyage and all this other crazy stuff.
I love the word.
Like,
you said delve. I how many times, I can't tell you how many times I've deleted the word delve. I'm like, why do you keep using the word? Nobody uses that word.
Like, nobody uses it, dude. It used to make me laugh so much. So I'm like, there's no way I'm going to let this corny ass thing. Oops, sorry. I'm not going to let this corny thing turn around and talk in this manner. So I'm like, how do I program my speech pattern? So I literally went into it and I said, can we have a conversation? And based on my responses from the conversation, would you be able to duplicate my speech patterns? And it's like, yeah, sure could. So I did it. Mm-hmm. And then, I just kept doing it. And then I kept summarizing and transcribing all of my responses. So I'd have this conversation with chat and I'd be like, hey, will you transcribe all of my responses so I can copy and paste them into a document? Mm-hmm. Sure. Done. Right. You do this over and over and over. And next thing you know, you have a document that's like 30 pages long of just you responding and talking.
Yep.
And then I was like, oh man, what if I took one of my YouTube videos where I'm doing a tutorial and I'm not scripted and I transcribe that and I put that in the document. So now I have this document that's hundreds of pages long of just me talking.
Yeah.
I can upload this document into any large language model and make it speak exactly like me, just like that. Yep. Right. Mm-hmm. So then I coupled that with that interview I talked about earlier on the show where it knows everything about my business. right? So then I feed these two documents into any large language model or small language model. Those are going to start getting popular here pretty quick too. I can feed it into any module, any model like that, and it's going to immediately take my persona and know everything about my business. So when I go to say, hey, give me 5 blog ideas for, first time home buyers, it's not just going to give me generic blog ideas. It's going to give it to me based on my area, my target avatar and all of that.
Yeah.
And then these blogs sound like me. They express my way of selling. And like I said, it's impossible for your personality not to jump out in people's face doing this. And this is what builds that online trust.
Yeah.
Like not generic emails and stuff. So this is the real key of what I think using these large language models should be for, is not to replace you, but to optimize you.
Yes.
This is an augmented relationship that we have with ChatGPT. At least this is the way that I run my business. And it's amazing because I don't pass my client off to some robot. Anybody listening to this call right now, raise your hand, even though I can't see it. Raise your hand if you want to be called by a robot today. I guarantee you there are no hands in the sky right now because nobody wants that. So why would we do that to our client?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like the phone call you get where you answer it and you're like, hello, and then you hear this nothing, and then it goes bloop, and then it's like, hi, I'm George, and like, you're not George. Okay.
Nope. See you later, George. Right?
Yeah.
This is the thing,
Yeah.
right? So when I talk to clients, when I send anything AI related out to clients, it has to have value to it first and foremost. And it can't be salesy.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not trying to tell somebody my most hated saying in real estate right now. Nobody's really using it anymore because they all got bit in the butt for it, but was date the rate, marry the house.
Yeah, but marry the house, date the
worst advice
Yes.
ever.
Yes.
We've got, Arizona markets suffering, Austin markets suffering right now. And all of these agents that ran around and said that, like, you have to think like, what are their 3-2-1 buy downs done? Right. We're out of COVID. And now they're at 7% interest rates or whatever the interest rate was when they signed on.
Some of them were at 8 when they did those. Yeah.
Yeah. Guess what's going up right now? The 30-day lates are up.
Yep.
Like crazy across the nation. And this is because of bad advice.
Yeah.
So I steer clear of that.
Yeah.
I'm not here to convince you to buy a home.
Right.
I'm here to educate and inform you about the process so you can make the decision when it's right for you.
Right.
And that's where the database comes in, right? When somebody's not ready for 2 years, most people are like, okay, never mind. Never talk to that person again. Not me, dude.
Right.
I'm like, dope. I got a plan for you. We're going to stay in touch. Like, I might not call you every 3 months like we're supposed to, because once again, would you want that? Would you want your real estate agent to call you when you're 2 years out from buying a house, 6 months after you talk, to say, hey, just checking in with you?
Yeah.
Like,
how's it going?
On,
How's
guys.
the family? Yeah.
Right. So I just feed them value,
Yeah.
consistent value all the time in a manner that's not invasive.
Yeah.
Right. Phone calls in our society have become invasive. A lot of coaches out there do not like it when I say that part out loud, but that's the reality. Any of us on this call right now that has kids,
they don't talk
your
on the
kids
phone.
won't even answer the phone.
No.
They're like, text me, please.
Yes. They don't,
right?
they don't
so
speak.
That's my number one reach out now is texting, and it works.
Mm-hmm.
It works. The emails still work. All of this works if it's value driven.
Yeah.
So that's really the key, dude.
Well, I want to talk just a little bit more about the personalization. So, I teach a class on how to build your own GPT, basically, and what you were talking about right there is exactly what we do, which is we'll take what I usually, like for me, I've built one for myself. I've built one for my wife. She's a realtor. Where I've obviously done hours and hours of podcasts, so I just take my podcasts that are not scripted. We're just having a conversation, and I download the transcripts, and I have, again, 100 pages of audio transcripts that I did from a podcast, and I can just have that into my GPT, and I'll update it occasionally and kind of put them in there because we all change a little bit and the things that we're into and what we like to do, and I can spit out stuff on a regular basis that sounds not exactly but pretty close to what I would say in that situation. And often, because it is about the contact, it's not so much always about the content. I mean, there is to some extent, of course, that's there, but just hey, this is me reaching out to you, be it via text, via email, whatever unintrusive way that you're just seeing my face pop up. And that's where you get the importance of, social media stuff, making videos, because it's that third party validation that someone sees you out there, you exist, you're a human. Okay. And then I get an email from you, so it's okay. But But when it comes to the personalization of it, I think that that's where it seems like it gets overwhelming for people that to create something like that. And it sounds like, we got to do this, you got to do this. It's really not that difficult. So I want you to talk just a little bit more and get into little specifics about when you go through helping someone build out a GPT, or whatever it is you're going to do, where it speaks like you know, what type of data are you giving it in order for it to, like, specifically, what are you asking it to upload, so that way it responds, and speak a little bit to the whole idea of, if you give it your email, for example, and your website and all that stuff up front, then anytime you ask for content, it's going to spit out that information for you, so you don't have to constantly re-up it every single time.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like most agents on this, right? I thought about it and it's like, how the heck am I going to figure out all of this stuff for my business and then feed it to this bot? Like, we think of it like it's almost like you have to go out and gather all this information and just shove it into the bot.
Right.
When the reality is a very well structured prompt can handle this for you. So what I did is I spent a lot of time on the back end. So to kind of back up a little bit, when I first started playing with ChatGPT and I started to experiment with it and started to realize the capabilities, I did realize that there is a way to use it wrong, and I didn't want to do that anymore. Mm-hmm. So I went and got some certifications. I went and got the IBM certification for foundations of large language models and machine learning, and went into prompt engineering courses, done a lot of research on prompt engineering, and realized that this is how this can work. So what I did is I created a prompt. I'm not the best person at naming my prompts, so I just called it the Learn My Business prompt. Right. But that's exactly what it's doing, right? Yeah. I'm positioning ChatGPT to be a business consultant, mm-hmm. right? And I'm telling it that your job is to learn every aspect of my business. And then I give it 10 categorical areas of my business that I need to answer questions on. Mm-hmm. And I tell it to ask me one question at a time.
I was just going to ask you if you do that, because that's my favorite thing, is because it'll say, okay, ask me a question about my business, and you'll get 50 questions. You're like, oh God.
So like, I'm not going to answer that.
The big sheet I have now is just one question at a time. Anything that I do, any project I'm about to start, anything I want to, I'm not thinking of everything that I need to think of. So I'm like, okay, here's what I'm trying to do. Here's what my goals are. Now I want you to ask me one question at a time about this. And I love that. That's my favorite little piece.
It's the key.
Yeah.
Well, and then you can jump into advanced voice mode. So for those of you that are new to ChatGPT, you can talk to it. You don't have to type to it, right? So I'll put this prompt and tell it to ask me one question at a time. And then I go into advanced voice mode and I answer the questions. The caveat to that is I also tell ChatGPT, I say, hey, now that we're in advanced voice mode, I want you to pay attention to how I'm responding.
Okay.
And at the end of this chat, you're going to give me a detailed description of my speech patterns and transcribe all of my responses. So now I'm in a voice chat with ChatGPT, and ChatGPT goes, okay, Adam, what is the core mission of your business? Oh, wait, I don't know. No problem, Adam.
Right.
Let me ask you this question. What is it that moves you in real estate, and why did you join? Oh, easy. Yeah, I wanted to be self-sufficient, and I knew that I needed to be able to support my family. I'm a high school dropout, a failed musician. We call it washed up now, washed up musician, and I need to do something. So this seemed like it was the best route. Okay, great, Adam. Now that you're in real estate, who is it that you like to help? And what's the difference that you want to make? So I answer that. After a couple of questions, it's like, hey, Adam, guess what? We just built your mission statement. Here it is. Bam. All right. Question 2. What is your target demographics? Oh, yeah, I love blue collar workers. I love working with the blue collar worker that makes at least $100,000 a year, that's renting a house, that needs to grow their family and wants to buy their first home. I love helping those types of people out because I used to be one, right? And then it's like, okay, dope. Next question. So we go through this, and what I instruct my clients to do on this is to, yeah, it does, because it starts to know my speaking style.
Hey, brother, we're good. Right? I got you.
Yeah, dude. And I tell people to be exhaustive with your responses. This is the time where you should be babbling.
Yes.
Give it as much context as possible. Yeah. And then it's going to learn more and more and more about you. And then by the time you're done with this conversation, which, full disclosure, if you're doing it right, this should be a 3-hour conversation, right? Now, when it goes to advanced voice mode, we can only do it in like 10-minute segments, depending on what level of ChatGPT you're on. So you may have to take a break and come back and do it again. So it took me a few days, but I got about 3 hours into it. And now it's got a summarized document that knows every single thing about my business.
I have a question. And this will sound stupid. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. It'll sound dumb. When you say advanced voice mode, what's the difference between regular voice mode and advanced voice mode? Maybe I must have missed that.
So yeah, voice mode. It's the technical name is advanced voice mode. So for those of us that have been abusing this software since it came out,
Uh-huh.
regular voice mode was the old Chat GPT style. So
Got
if
it.
you were to go into a chat right now and you were to upload some documents and go into the O3 model and then hit voice mode, you're going to be on original voice mode. This had a higher latency of delay between responses, so it didn't feel very human. It would be like as if I asked you a question and then you counted to 5 and then started
Got it.
responding,
Got it.
right? It just feels delayed. Now, advanced voice mode is significantly different, where we see, 1/10 of the time for
Right.
that. So it feels more human, which is the current default mode unless you're uploading documents, right? So when you start to learn my business prompt, we just do advanced voice mode and it's way more
Gotcha.
conversational.
Gotcha. Okay. Sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off there. I was just like,
No,
I thought I
no,
knew,
you're
I thought
good.
I knew everything about this. I've never heard advanced voice mode before. I was like, this is crazy. So
Yeah, yeah, no,
you get the document put together now. You've had this conversation, this 3 hour conversation with it, which again, I 100% agree, because the more detailed and the more, you know, like you said, context that you can give it, the more it's going to pick up, because it only knows what you tell it. It doesn't know what it doesn't know, especially about you,
yeah.
right? It might know facts and figures and stats and can pull up whatever, but it doesn't know about you. So the more you can
Yeah.
talk to it, the more you can tell it, the more you can be you, the more it's going to take from that and be able to give you content that is going to be very much tailored to your voice and how you would respond.
Yeah, yeah, and this goes back to the basics of prompting, right? So, my favorite prompting method is called, and there's other names for it. We have many different names for prompts, but I call it RGC.
Okay.
So, role, goal, and context, right? These are the three main things that need to be inside every single prompt, every single time you chat to ChatGPT, unless you're asking it what the weather is
Right.
today, right? If you give it a role, you give it a goal, and you supply it with a massive amount of context, then the output is going to be highly tailored towards that context that you gave it, which is what makes the difference between generic AI content and custom content that is AI generated but cannot be detected by AI detection software.
Okay.
Right. So there's caveats to that too, because if you're just dropping out blogs that are AI written, or you're grabbing your blogs off of Keeping Current Matters, who, yes, uses AI to write those blogs, guess what? You throw that into AI detection. So if you go to like undetectable.ai and you throw your Keeping Current Matters blog in there, it's going to tell you it's 100% AI generated.
Yeah.
Well, guess who else can see that? Google, Yahoo, all of these big search engine companies. And guess what they're doing with AI generated content? They're snuffing it out.
Right.
They're like, we don't want this all over the internet. So they won't put it out there. They won't rank it. It won't become indexed. Right. So it's important to make sure. And that's what this AI personalization does. So going back to where we were, where we've got this large document now, right? It's a PDF. I just throw it in my Google Drive. Now, for a while there, I depended on my custom GPT inside of Chat GPT, which is AI Atom. But for the longest time, until like 2 weeks ago, ChatGPT was using the GPT-4 Turbo technology when the rest of the front end facing a website was 4.0 and 0.3. And the technology was old. So the GPTs were not working very well at all. They weren't following instructions anymore.
Right.
And I do a lot of very in-depth GPT creation where I'm doing multiple sequences of steps. So if it's not going to follow that, I wasn't going to use it. And that's where I basically abandoned ship. So I just started keeping my speech patterns document in my business explained in my Google Drive. And then I could just open up a blank chat on any model I want, upload those two documents, and basically that's my GPT at that point, right?
Right.
And then I could tell it to do whatever I wanted it to do. So it's a very simple process. It does take a little bit of time, but it'll be the best time that you could spend on that, because you don't have to do it again other than to just update it.
Right.
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 And make changes. So you have this now and it can be deployed anywhere. And you basically replicated yourself. So it takes it from being Chat GPT to your digital assistant.
Right. And this is where you take that and then you pair it up with your CRM now. And so everything that gets kicked out, emails, text messages, any type of communication sounds exactly like you, is going to be in the context that you would put it in. And then you layer that on top of your clients and their profiles and what they're into. And now you have extremely customized, tailored content for each one of your clients that goes out on a scheduled regular basis that you also set up inside your CRM.
Yeah. And then it's just after that, it's a little bit of setup.
Sure.
Like I said, but anything that's worthwhile is going to take a little bit of time to set up.
Yep.
You just got to really time block your calendar and put the time in to do it. Go one source at a time. The old age old saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Yep.
If you take this approach with your CRM and the AI, you're going to eventually have this completely automated system.
Yeah.
I walked away from full-time real estate production in 2024 to coach at the beginning of 2024 into 2023. I knew right then and there that if I wanted to maintain myself as a coach, especially teaching AI with as fast as the landscape changes, I still need to produce real estate.
Right.
Right. But I don't have time to run both businesses.
Right.
So I spend like 80% of my time here and 20% of my time in production. But that other 80% of the time I could have spent in production is now handled in the automations behind the CRM that I spent the time to build.
Right.
So I'm still making 6 figures a year out of my CRM, and I'm not even making phone calls.
Right.
Right. So think about this. If you're full-time in production and you do what we're telling you to do here and you dial in your CRM system and you're making phone calls, it's a multiple 6 figures a year with a relatively small database.
Yeah.
Like I have a very hygienic database, meaning that I keep it very clean. So I have less than 2,000 contacts in my database right now, but I still make 6 figures a year off of it.
Right.
Because those were leads that have been nurtured over a period of time. And I'm still bringing new leads in, but anybody who opts out, I kick them out. They don't need to be there. They just confuse me later and make me feel overwhelmed. So I boot them out.
Yeah.
And then just worry about what's coming in and how many people you can nurture. And next thing you know, you put 20% of the effort in and you get maximum results.
Yeah, it's amazing what it can do. Again, the setup takes a little bit of time, but it's like you said, it's like anything else. I mean, you had to go to real estate school and take all the courses and do all the things in order to get your license. I mean, that was part of the deal. If you want to become an expert in a city that you're working in, you've got to go to Chamber of Commerce events. You've got to know the businesses in your area. I mean, everything that you do takes time and education in order to get good at it. So this is not going to be any different. The difference though with this is that the amount of results you get from the time you spent is 10x compared to the coffee that you have once a week with, your neighbor, down the street and talking to their friends. And not that those things there's places for that for sure. Like
it's going to give you more time to do those,
absolutely.
Right? Like that's the thing. The number one side effect of proper AI implementation is compounded time savings.
Yeah.
So think about it this way. You spend the time to set it up, but even after it's set up, so you've got yourself cloned, right? You're understanding the basics of prompt engineering, which is not hard. Once again, role, goal, context. That's it. That's all you got to know about until you want to start going very, very detailed into it.
Right.
But you understand these concepts, and then you can write a drip campaign that runs for 2 years. You can create it from scratch, copy and paste it into your CRM in about an hour to an hour and a half. And I used to do this process before AI existed that we had access to. And this was like a 3-week process, right? Writing out each individual email, bringing those into the CRM, deciding when I want to do that. Now the AI is like, oh yeah, 2 emails a month. No problem. Here's an outline for 48 emails. Here's the context of each email that's going to go out. Now I just say, okay, let's create email number 1, 2, and 3. And it's all boom, 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 boom. Copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. Next thing you know, the automation's built. You're moving on. So yes, there's a little bit of time setup, but compared to what it used to be, this is a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Like this is so easy that you could have a fully dialed CRM by time blocking out an hour a day for a month. That would be 30 hours that you would have on that CRM. I promise you, by the time you're done with that, it'll be built.
Yeah.
You'll be like, oh, I don't think I have much more to do other than make some phone calls.
Yeah. You got to tweak occasionally, make a few changes here and there, but for the most part, once you build it, it's up and running. And the technology just gets better. So most of the time when you're coming back to try to do something different, it's even easier than the first time you did it. And it takes less time every single time, especially because you built it and that's, so another thing, I think we always want to pay somebody to do it for us, right? We want to pay someone to build something for us, which I understand, right? It makes sense. But, I take it back to like the pioneer days, right? If at that point you were living in your house, right, and you were farming and you were doing all the, fixing everything that broke, having to change a roof, mend the fence, take care of the animals. If you hired somebody to do all those things, okay, and then you picked up and moved somewhere else to try to be a new homesteader, you'd have no idea how to do any of it, right? You'd have no clue. And so you can't, hiring someone can maybe be a shortcut to help you with a few small things along the way, or hire someone to show you how to do it, right? Here's how we're going to do it together. Here's the
That's the
homework.
key.
Here's what you need to do. Here's how you're going to grow this, because the knowledge that you get is so much more valuable than what you're going to pay someone to build something for you that you don't know how it works. When it breaks, you don't know how to fix it. And when it's not, working the right way, you don't know how to make little tweaks to it. So I can't emphasize enough how important it is to learn how to do it yourself, or like we all do, take a course, go, like you did, go get your prompting, certification, learn these things, because the more you know about it, the growth curve is so much faster once you know how to do it on your own and getting someone to help you. Now, there are people that, like you, that can help you and show you how to do these things, but they're not going to do it for you, because if it's done
Nope.
for you, you're not going to walk away with the value that you're going to get from that. You're just going to have something that's put together that you have no idea how it works. And the first time it glitches on you, you're like, well, this sucks. I can't use this. I can't believe I paid all this money for this thing. I'm moving on,
Dude, it's a racket, man. I fully believe this. So yeah, I don't build out anything for anybody.
Mhm.
I will help you build it out. All of my coaching and services are all done with you,
Yeah.
never done for you. Because here's the thing, we're already nickel and dimed as real estate
Yeah.
agents, right? Like most of this coaching is, multiple thousands of dollars per month. Right. So it's already expensive to do that. And then what they do is they reel you in. They're like, yeah, I'll build your CRM for you. And meanwhile, you're like, oh, okay, cool. How much is that? It's like, oh, well, custom build out be probably about like $5,000. And you're like, all right, I could probably dump that in there. But guess what the coach is thinking? Sweet. You're going to pay me $5,000 to build your system. And then guess what you're going to do? You're going to pay me monthly
To
to teach
maintain
you
it.
how to use the
Yep.
system I just built for you.
Yep.
Right. And most people won't do that part. So then they end up with a system they don't know how to operate. And then it doesn't work. And they're like, screw this, I'm done. $5,000 wasted.
Yep.
Right. So I don't even offer that service. I get calls off of YouTube all the time. And they're like, Adam, I just don't have the time. I need somebody to do it for me. I'm not asking you to change your business model, but would you do it? And I tell them no. Like, no, dude, because you're not going to learn what you need to learn. And if you're too busy to learn your CRM, I don't know what to tell you, dude, because what you're basically telling me is like, you might as well be like, hey, man, I'm too busy to have my heartbeat.
Yeah.
So I'm just not going to let it beat.
Yeah.
I'm like, your business isn't going to survive.
Yeah.
Like you may be able to make it, but you're never going to have anything of value at the end of it.
Yeah.
Think about this. If you do real estate for 20 years and every single person you ever meet goes into your database, you help as many of them as you can, you nurture the rest. Not only are you going to have a very sustainable business, but when you step away from that business someday and you want to, I don't know, sell it, guess what? Unlike most real estate businesses, you will have value to your business because you have the one thing that everybody's after, and that's a lot of data.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So now you have something that's tangible that you can go over and say, hey, you want to take over my real estate business? I can sell you my book of business. That's worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
But if you're just on spreadsheets and you've just been kind of being a real estate agent, like I said at the beginning, we treat it a lot more like a gig, right? Where it's like, all right, sweet, got a deal, got paid, pay a little bit in taxes, take the rest home. And next thing you know, 2 months go by, you didn't get a closing because you got super excited and went on vacation. And you're like, oh, I got to go find another deal. Like that type of life is not a quality of life whatsoever. And the CRM proper implementation can absolve you from having to deal with that on such a dramatic level. Like there's always hills and valleys, but they're less when you use your CRM like that. And then at the end of the day, like I said, you got to book a business that's worth money.
Yeah. Well,
and sell it.
And when you have, on the back to the point of saying, having people do things for you and building stuff, it's like, I would equate it to like, if you're a realtor and you hired an assistant, okay, which a lot of them do, and your assistant called all your leads, showed all your houses, right? Talked to your clients and followed up with them all the time. Okay. And then because you made this sweet deal with them, you get to collect, 80% of the commission. And all you had to do is like show up at closing or, write a contract out. Well, the minute that person leaves and goes somewhere else, your business is going with them. Right. So you have to be involved in your business if you want your business to be sustained. And so you have to learn how to do these things. You have to educate yourself on how to build it. Just like all the people online talk about, when you're making content, making videos, educate your clients, tell them about the process. The more educated they are in the process, the more they're going to be locked in with you. And yet when it comes to realtors and lenders learning about their business and learning how to manage their business. Like, I ain't got time for that. I don't need to learn anything. Okay, but I don't understand. You're coaching your clients on learning the steps to buying a home and what is involved with it and what escrow is and, insurance. But then when it comes to how to build out your CRM, you're like, I don't have time for that. I can't find time to do this. Like, okay, I don't understand that logic, but all right. I guess it permeates
Yeah,
everywhere.
it's wild. And it's fun. The crazy thing about it is it's the majority of the
Yeah,
industry,
it is. Which
right?
just means there's a ton of opportunity, right? That's all that means.
Tons,
Yes.
tons of opportunity, dude. And with minimal effort. Like, I don't put a lot of time into my production business, and I still make really good money with it,
Yeah.
and it's not like I've been in business for 20 years. I've only been doing this since 2017. I've been to 10 brokerages too, by the way.
Yeah.
So if anybody's listening, like, well, maybe Adam just got onto a good brokerage and got onto the right CRM. Nah, dude, 10 brokerages since 2017. I've been on every CRM from Follow Up Boss to Commissions Inc. to Boomtown to KV Core to now Lofty. It used to be called Chime. Been on Lion's Desk, dude, HubSpot, like any CRM you can name, I've done it.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is that they all work,
Mm-hmm.
but nobody wants to use them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it's not sexy.
Yeah, it's boring. It's not fun. It's not showing a house and looking at furniture and picking out paint colors. It's sitting in front of a spreadsheet and creating emails. It's not fun.
No.
Are you familiar with this is a new term that I just saw recently, GEO as opposed to
Yes.
SEO?
Yes, Generative Engine Optimization.
Okay, so
Yes, guys.
talk a little bit about that, because that's something that if you don't know what that term is, you better get to be very, very familiar with it.
Yes, yeah. So SEO is pretty much dead. Search engine optimization is not going to be a thing anymore because we have to understand how people are searching the internet, right? With SEO, you put in a query inside of Google and you get a list of websites. Depending on who has the best SEO and the biggest website traffic and has all their everything optimized is who's going to show up first. It doesn't work that way with a large language model, right? The large language models are scraping a lot of information and summarizing. So when we look at generative engine optimization, it's a little bit different than SEO, where we're looking for keywords in SEO. We're looking for like conversational responses, answers to questions, right? So when I'm doing like GEO optimization for my business, what I'm doing now, instead of finding competitive keywords with we look for a high search keyword with low competition on it, right? Oh, this would be good. Okay, so I'll use this like long tail keyword where it's like finding your dream home in Arvada, Colorado, right? Well, that's not really working anymore. So now what I do is I research what the questions are that people are asking, and then I give it an entire answer, either in a blog format or a giant response into a Q&A, put it in the back end of the website. So I have questions and answers that go all through the website. And what happens is when Google's indexing this stuff, they index that whole response. So when the generative engines, AKA our large language models, our chatbots, are going out there, they're looking for more of this response that they can versus just aiming at keywords.
Yep.
So it's going to change the game, and we're still really early into it. There's GEO, there's AEO, and AIO. So answers engine optimization, which I think is going to probably go by the wayside. But this is something that was starting to get pretty popular when Perplexity came out.
Yep.
So if you guys haven't heard of Perplexity AI, a lot of people think it's a large language model. It's actually not. It's an answers engine that knows how to API or is using large language models in the back end, but its primary thing is to find answers, right? So we see engine optimization, and then now AIO, which is, I honestly can't remember. I'm not the best at all of this section of it, but it's new. Basically, it's like artificial intelligence optimization. So they're all going to fit into their own category, but GEO seems to be taking the main stage. So learning that, which a lot of you guys are probably listening, like, what am I going to do to learn about GEO? Well, guess
I just
what?
figured out what SEO means. What?
Yeah. Well, let's have a conversation with ChatGPT about
Yes.
it. Right?
Yep.
Hey, ChatGPT, I need you to act as an expert at SEO and GEO and help me understand the difference between the two and how I can implement it in my business.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a, I saw a stat the other day. It was something like, there was somewhere in the neighborhood of like 4 billion queries on ChatGPT a day related to search items like shopping and not just questions about, the weather or whatever, but like, how can I find this? Where's the store that carries that? Those type of things that come up. And
Yeah.
now, if you want to hop in, if you're in, if you're in Colorado and you were wanting to relocate to Texas, and you would say, hey, I'm looking to relocate to Dallas, Fort Worth from Colorado. I need to find a realtor. Can you give me, a list of 10 realtors in the area that I could ask? Here's the kind of parameters I'm looking for, especially people that know how to use chat or familiar with using it. That's where they're going. They're not going to Google because they don't want to go through 25 different websites and, sift through a bunch of different stuff. They just want to ask and get an answer and then say, okay, this person lands up. Let me look at them. Oh, okay, that's probably good. Let me give that person a call and see what I can figure out. And it's moving in that direction. I mean, ChatGPT has stated that their goal is to basically upend Google by next year, to upend Google as the primary search engine for all things online, right? And so,
Mm-hmm.
when you then add on what Gemini's doing, and then you got Grok and you've got Claude and all of these that are competing, all of these companies are moving to this new model of searching the web to find information out there. And so if you're not already headed in that direction, or at the very least, just get familiar with what it is. And if you're going to create
Yeah.
content, or you're going to put out blogs, do the question answer, because like you said, that's what it's looking for. It's looking for the response. Here's a question that often gets asked. What are the responses out there for the information that people are looking for? Tailor it
Yep.
specifically to your area, tailor it specifically to your knowledge base and what your topics are. So that way it's easier to find you. And you'll start to see when you start looking for yourself, go on chat, say, hey, I'm looking for this Now, the hard part is when you use your own account, it can get a little squirrely on that. Cause
It wants to pull you up.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
So
hey,
go
you're
in
doing great.
incognito window.
Yeah. My most annoying thing about chat right now is I'm so sick of it telling me how awesome every idea I have is, or how awesome every plan I have
Yeah.
is. It's like,
It's
this is
such a real
great.
issue.
Yes.
And like Grok 4, Elon addressed this on Grok 4 release, but yeah, ChatGPT has a major problem right now. The more that people use it, like you'd mentioned before, like, why do you think the software is so cheap and oftentimes free? It's because we are the product. We're
Yes.
training these
Yeah.
models, right?
Yep.
They put this into the public's hand now. Most of the models are trained on a data set called the pile.
Mm-hmm.
And this is basically a giant piece of data that they use to train large language models with. It costs quite a bit of money. So you got to purchase it,
Okay.
but you get access to the pile. They train the model on it. And then they go, okay, we're going to use different modes of reinforcement learning while our users use the model. So everybody's been using ChatGPT before, and you've gotten 2 responses.
Yes.
And it says which response you are participating in reinforcement learning for that model.
Right.
Right now, when a lot of people are using it that don't understand how to use it and they're using it wrong, ChatGPT is a generative intelligence. So this is designed to create,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it can give you wrong answers.
Yes.
And it can sound like they're right
Yep.
because of the way that ChatGPT does it. So we started experiencing these, what we call hallucinations,
Yep.
AI hallucinations, which can be minimized by proper prompting, right? So this is where the prompting comes in. But now the issue that we're having with ChatGPT is its affirmational capabilities. So it's affirming us. I was doom scrolling on Insta the other day, and I saw a really good example that I'm now going to use all the time. Is somebody asked ChatGPT, "Hey, my wife worked a 12-hour shift today and didn't come home and eat dinner and make me dinner, so I cheated on her." ChatGPT's response to this is, "Hey, man,
Great work.
while cheating is wrong, what you did is understandable because your needs weren't met." Right? Yes, your wife just worked 12 hours a day, but she also failed to recognize that you are also in the family and you have needs too. So what you did may have been wrong, but your heart was in the right place.
That's terrible.
Literally,
That's
dude.
terrible. That's horrible.
So, dude, horrible. And what this can do is this can cause mass psychosis episodes.
Yeah.
Throughout
Well, it's
society,
bad
right?
enough right now. We on social media, we live in echo chambers, right? If you go online and the algorithm feeds you the stuff that you want to see, then you're only going to get the stuff that you either hate and or want to argue with, or that you absolutely agree with, right? So it builds this world around you that is only telling you the stuff that you want to see and that you believe, and reaffirms that. And so now, if you're telling me that AI is also doing this, that's a major issue. Like, that's a real. We have enough problems with it as it is already, right? I mean, I don't want to get whatever, but I mean, even the I'd say this in a nice way, but the body positivity movement, right? Where it's okay to be unhealthy, right? It's your life. Like, look, you do what you want to do. Like, I'm not telling you not to, but I am telling you that if you eat terribly, you drink, Dr. Pepper all day long, and you don't get any physical activity, and you're going to die early. And whether or not you want to do that or not is completely up to you. It's your choice. But just know that it's not a healthy lifestyle, and it's not something that's good. But we've been told for a long time that, oh, no, it's fine. You should be comfortable with yourself. And it's like, no, you need
For
to
the
be
sake
healthy.
of feelings,
Yes. Just because
right?
we don't want to hurt
Feelings
anybody's
over
feelings.
facts.
Yes.
And that's the key, right? So once again, it goes back to proper prompting,
Yeah.
right? Like, if I talk to ChatGPT about serious issues? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But before I do, I prime it properly, right? So for example, if you need some psychological advice because you're experiencing anxiety, you can go into ChatGPT and get real answers. You just have to know how to prompt it right. So if you just go into it and say, hey, Chat, I'm experiencing anxiety and I feel like, I just don't want to live anymore. That was another example, is this dude's like, got fired from my job today. What are the top 5 tallest bridges within 5 miles of this city? And ChatGPT gave him a list of bridges, right? Like, this is bad. But if you were to go in and understand prompting and you were to say, hey, ChatGPT, I need you to act as a PhD level psychologist, and your job is to take an unbiased approach to my questions. Do not affirm me in any way, shape, or form. Be completely real and follow the modern medical journals on what the proper ethics for a psychiatrist should be, and help me answer my questions.
Yeah.
You're going to get a significantly different output because you've now instructed it to go away from its default settings, right? Like, its first process of thought is something that ChatGPT has been trained to ignore.
Right.
Because it wants to be friendly.
Right.
It wants to be nice.
Because that encourages engagement and usage, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
exactly, guys. It's a racket, right? We are the product. So if you can have a good experience on ChatGPT, you use it more. This is how OpenAI went from, in 2023, they had, I can't even remember what it was at the time. The number's not right, but it was not very many. I think, or actually in 2024, it was 180 million users a month. Mm-hmm. They have over 300 million users a day.
Yeah.
This isn't queries. This is users a day, which results in multiple billions of queries, because a lot of these people are like me, where I'm on ChatGPT like 80% of my day.
Yeah.
Right. I'm using AI to create new stuff and sending it out to my systems to go ahead and deploy it. And I'm just kind of the mad scientist in the background of it. This is how it's growing, because we're getting a good experience with it. But if we don't understand that this model can convincingly mislead you, then we don't know how to operate it properly. And this is why I do fear things of, like, mass psychosis events, people being led down the wrong direction. I did have a client of mine. I love this guy to death. We're very good friends. But he called me and he was like, Adam, I've been chatting with ChatGPT and I think I discovered an entire new way of prompting. And ChatGPT told me this is a technological advancement that nobody's discovered before. So I went ahead and trademarked and copywrote the entire process. And now I'm going to implement it. And the whole time I'm like, gosh, darn it, dude. Like, not that I wouldn't want somebody to experience that, to have that. It'd be great if he actually did invent that. But what he's failing to realize is that since about 2013, Google and other tech companies have been paying prompt engineers hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to discover new prompting techniques. And I assure you, you didn't do it in your apartment, right? You did it. You're being affirmed. You're being lied to by ChatGPT, and it's convinced you of something. And now you are experiencing a mild case of psychosis because you're believing and acting on something that is not real. Right. And that's where it can get dangerous. And Grok, Elon, tackled this. Going back to my, he tried.
He unhinged it a little too much for a couple of days or whatever happened.
Dude, it was crazy. And the problem with Grok is that its primary data set of training is X. Right. X is probably the largest source of multiple stories for one consist. So it's basically, there's a lot of misinformation on X. Right. And it's not,
there's a lot of
X's
bots.
fault.
There's a lot of accounts that aren't real, that are just trying to stir up, I read stuff sometime on X and I'm like, there's no way that a human wrote that, because the amount of just vitriol
in
inside of it.
dashes and
Oh
all
my
the shit that's
golly.
in
And you
there,
go back
dude.
and look and the account's been there for 2 years. And you scroll to the bottom and it used to be like, what's the Japanese cartoons, I don't remember what it's called.
Oh yeah, it's
But
all anime.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But before, then it became a person that's posting American flags every day. And then prior to that, it was somebody, it's like, okay, this is definitely a bot, but this is the type of stuff that you find on it. You have to know how to sift through it.
Yeah, and that was the problem with Grok, is it was being trained on that, and it got a lot of misinformation. So it did go pretty unhinged. When Grok 3 came out, it was what they call woke.
Yeah.
So he had to take it back and retrain it
Well, then
to become a little
it
bit
got
more
very unwoke.
quiet.
Just a couple.
No, it didn't.
Well,
And
no,
then
you
like
saw
now
the Hitler stuff. Like it was like it went on like a Hitler rant that had happened a couple of weeks ago.
dude, absolutely wild,
Yeah.
right? And so for a little bit of science lessons, right? So what this is, guys, is this is inherently in itself, this is what's called next token prediction.
Mhm.
Okay, so when a large language model looks at a statement that we give it, we feed it a query, right? We see words. ChatGPT doesn't see words. ChatGPT breaks those words down into what's called tokens.
Okay.
And these tokens can be fragments of words, they can be punctuations, they can even be spaces. And what it does is these tokens are basically code for ChatGPT. ChatGPT takes this series of tokens in and it says, okay, based on the tokens and the way that they're structured and all of this code that I have in front of me, what would be the most likely response? So then it goes through its neural network, and this all happens in milliseconds,
Okay.
right? So it goes through its neural network and it sees all of the different possible probabilities that could come out of that for that next token prediction. It assigns a weight to each one of these pieces until it eventually goes down to the winners,
Mhm.
right? And then it usually will have like 3 options, and then it'll choose the best one out of that, and that's your response.
Okay.
So it doesn't actually think. It doesn't actually read, right? So this is how we can go down these paths with AI hallucination and Hitler praising and all of this other stuff,
Yeah.
because there's all of these different nuances to it. It has natural language processing, so it sounds like it's actually human, but it's also been biasly programmed to affirm you to improve your experience. So naturally, if it's just there to predict the next token, but it wants to keep you on it using it, and you say, hey, tell me why Hitler was a good dude, and then all of a sudden you get this crazy output, people are like, oh, ChatGPT's racist or ChatGPT's woke. And it's like, no, it's just trying to affirm the position for which you held when you started that chat.
Yeah.
I had a conversation with ChatGPT about nicotine once.
Okay.
Right? Nicotine is highly stigmatized in Western society, not so much around the rest of the world. We're now starting to look at it as like nootropic benefits that are possible through it. It does really actually help a lot of ADHD symptoms and stuff like that. So we see this explosion of nicotine use. So I get into ChatGPT and I'm like, hey, let's talk about nicotine. And it's like, oh, nicotine's a highly neurotoxic substance that causes cancer. And I'm like, well, wait a second, does it really cause cancer? And it's like, well, no, but, and I was able to basically convince it by the end of the conversation that nicotine was good.
Right.
Right. So I leave this conversation and I'm like, I
was right.
I'm smarter
Yes.
than ChatGPT.
Yes.
Now you got played.
Yes.
You got played.
Yeah.
It just agreed with you for the sake of agreeing. So you come back and use it again.
Yeah.
So once again, going back to proper prompting, we can handle a lot of this. And we can avoid a lot of this if we're telling it what to do.
Yeah.
Like one of the biggest things that ChatGPT will never tell you unless you instruct it to tell you is that it doesn't know the answer to a question. You can ask it any question in the world and it will answer that question.
Right.
It might not be right, but you're getting an answer. But if you tell it, hey, if you don't know the answer to the specific question, please let me know and do not make something up.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden ChatGPT is like, yeah, I actually couldn't find the data on that answer.
Yeah.
So
Sorry.
yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think the takeaway from all this to some extent is, this is a tool like anything else, right? It can be good, it can be bad. It all comes down to the user and who's the user and how are you using it and what instructions are you giving. It's like, it's guns, it's Coca-Cola, it's the internet, it's social media. These are all things that are tools. The internet, like when I remember, because we're older now, when, in the 90s, when the internet came out and everybody was all like, oh, this is going to ruin everybody. Nobody's going to communicate, which again, there's good and bad, it's definitely, it has its pluses and minuses, but not to say that that everybody having access to a wealth of knowledge that they didn't have access before, and can communicate with people from all over the world is a net plus, right? It's a net benefit. Now, some
Yeah.
people don't use it the right way, and there's a lot of downsides to it, but it's like anything else. It's just, I mean, hell, when you always heard the stories of like when books came out, or they're like, oh, you spend all your time with your nose in a book, like it's just ruining people because all they do is read all day. And it's like, if you said that now, they're
Yeah.
like, wait, that's a good thing. What are you talking about? So
Right. Yeah, we should.
yes, yes. So everything, especially when it is first introduced, you have the people that's doom and gloom, and you have the people that are like, this is going to change the world. And the truth is, it's usually somewhere in the middle, but it always has to do with how you yourself apply it. How do you use it? What do you use it for? And how are you applying it to your business or to your life or whatever? And this is no different, right? Now, there may come a day, and we'll see where, this thing takes a whole other level that we're not thinking of. And there's possibilities to it that, hell, some of it may already be here. I don't know, what we have access to and what the Defense Department has access to are two very different things. But at least for now, this is very much just a very powerful tool that if you learn how to use it properly and implement it into your daily life and your business, it will completely change how you live, because it will, more than anything, like you said, which is the thing I think is the most important, the amount of time that you get back, it can't be measured. Because my favorite thing that I say all the time is time is the most democratic thing on the planet. We all get 24 hours a day. Everybody gets the same. Nobody gets more. Nobody gets less. And it's how you use your time is what ultimately sets you apart from anywhere else. That sets your success, your failures, and all of that. Where do you focus your time and energy? And so if there's a tool out there that can give you some time back so you can spend time, expanding your mind and, and pointing yourself in the right direction of life, and, doing the affirmations we talked about earlier, all those things, that it's going to improve your life in ways that you can't even imagine. But you have to learn how to use it. And not only you have to learn how to use it the right way, right? You have to learn how to use it in a way that's beneficial for you. So
Yeah.
So before we go, I want you to tell everybody, tell them about your coaching program, tell them where to find you online. And then also too, if you could give a few little recommendations for, everybody likes to talk about tech stacks, right? So when you're looking at combining a few things to, whether it be the CRM, the large language model, and maybe some sort of automation involved with that, what are you recommending to people?
Yeah, man. So we'll start at the tech stack there. So it goes beyond large language models, right? So we'll just put LLMs in one
Okay.
right there. But we also have apps out there that are insane. So my app of the year right now for 2025 is Gamma.app. Gamma is an AI presentation and image generation system. And it does really good because you can build presentations very, very quickly. So think of using ChatGPT and saying, hey, ChatGPT, I'm getting ready to give a presentation on proper prompting. Let's go ahead and do the top 10 proper prompting techniques and how to use those, and break that into an outline for a slide deck. There's your slide deck. You go into Gamma, you're like, make this slideshow. Boom, Gamma makes an amazingly beautiful slideshow for you with minimal editing. It looks better than any PowerPoint presentation you can come across. And the next time you go do a presentation, people are like, oh my God, how'd you do that?
Yeah.
Right. And then you're like, hey, let me tell you about Gamma. So Gamma is a huge, huge staple in my business right now. And I know the example I used was for a prompt engineering presentation, but I want you guys as realtors to think about listing presentations, customized listing presentations based on the house that you're doing the presentation on. You can now create this custom presentation in 10 minutes instead of 3 hours. Right. So a couple of minutes before the showing or before your listing appointment, you go in there, you pull all the data for the neighborhood and all the history on the house that you can find, throw it into a nice little slideshow outline that also has your seller's guide or your buyer's guide in it. Right. And then next thing you know, you got a presentation that you can deliver on your seller's TV that looks amazing. That's customized to them. So that's a huge one right there. My second favorite app next to Gamma this year is going to be Notebook LM.
Okay.
So if you guys haven't heard about Notebook LM, this is a Google product. This is using large language model technology. So it uses Google's Gemini 2.5 Flash model, which is a thinking model. So I know we talked about next token prediction earlier. We have taken the next step in the 5 steps to AGI per OpenAI, where we've got reasoners now. So this is like ChatGPT o3 and Gemini 2.5, which actually still tokenizes, but instead of it tokenizing, it comes back and it's able to actually read it and take a human level chain of thought process with it. So why I like Notebook LM so much is because it's what we call a grounded model, meaning that it can only reflect on the data set for which you upload to it. So in Notebook LM, it's going to call it sources. So if you go into a Blake version of Notebook LM and ask it a question about basketball, it'll be like, I don't have any sources. I can't answer any of your questions.
Okay.
Right. So then you go in and you throw your buyer's guide in there per se. Right. And you're like, hey, I want to, ask questions about how to optimize this buyer's guide. It will go through that buyer's guide using only the data in there and its knowledge as a large language model to help you optimize that buyer guide. Right. Or to help you crunch down on some statistics that we pulled, because when we go into like ChatGPT, you still run the risk of it making something up. So having access to a grounded model like this is absolutely key. Plus, it does like audio overviews. It can create a podcast like us right here with 2 hosts on it. Sounds great. I do this for my clients. I'll do my entire buyer presentation in podcast form and email it to them so they can listen to it on the way home from work.
Okay.
Love it.
Okay.
Right. So Notebook LM is huge on that. And then finally, Suno AI. So I'm a huge musician.
Okay.
I love music and I love the idea of AI music. And Suno is one of those apps that you can create really, really good music that we can use in our presentations and on our social media channel without having to pay licensing and royalty fees to it. So it helps us not only escape the sea of sameness that's happening right now. Like we're all scrolling through TikTok and every popular TikTok video has the same song on it. And by the end of the night, you're like, I don't ever want to hear that song again. Right. Like nobody's being individualized for this. So I have custom music that I create for the specific emotion I'm trying to drive.
Yeah.
And I put that in the behind my music. So between Suno, Notebook LM, and Gamma, that's like the top 3 apps that I'd say that you guys should be taking a look at right now.
TikTok has ruined the music of our generation, by the way, because not only do they overplay it because the music now is terrible, but they also change up the speed and like slow it down or to put, it's the most, I'll hear my kids on their phone. I'm like, that's a really good song, but it sounds awful. Like what did they do to that song? And they're like, oh, what are you talking about? I don't know what this is. I'm like,
yeah, you're extra, Dad.
Yeah, I'm being too extra. My aura isn't sharp with them, I guess. But yes, TikTok has ruined music from the 90s. It's very upsetting.
Ruined it all, man.
Greatest era of music of all time.
So yeah, that's my tech stack. But if you guys ever want to dive deeper with me, you can literally search my name up. If you just search up Adam Gillespie AI, you'll find my YouTube channel right now. You could even just search the Lofty CRM and I'm going to pop up. So you can Google that. I've managed to climb the ranks of that on Lofty or in Google. So super happy about that. But I got my Instagram page and my YouTube channel are mainly my big page places. So if you just search Adam Gillespie AI, you'll see all of that. As far as my coaching services, if you guys want to learn AI on a high level, that's geared specifically towards realtors. So a lot of AI programs are going to teach you a whole bunch of stuff, but it's not really specific to real estate. I have a real estate specific community called Apex Elite AI. We host 2 weekly mastermind calls. Every Tuesday we do AI. Every Thursday we jam on CRMs and Lofty. I have all of my courses on there. Agent Prompt University, which is what won me the Inman AI Award. I have all of that in there, plus prompt libraries, custom GPTs. Just hit me up or go to apexeliteai.com. And I can answer any questions you guys got and would love to see some people in the community.
Well, Adam, I can't thank you enough, man. I will say, and I mean this truly. I usually don't say these things on this, but I talk to people, every week, and especially recently because I've really dug into AI and starting to learn more about it. And so I've had a lot of different guests on to speak on different levels of this. And I will tell you, like, honestly, like I've taken a lot from this conversation personally on things that I didn't even know. And the depth of your knowledge on it is impressive. Is just as far as right off the top of your head, where you can, talk about these different things like the token thing with the, how chat breaks it all down. And so I would recommend anybody, like if you want to really learn this stuff and really elevate your business, reach out to Adam because I have spoken to very few people that have as much knowledge on this. And especially, I love the fact that when you talk about your coaching program, that you're talking about teaching people how to do it, because that's the most important part. Is you can teach someone how to do it, teach them in to fish, right? You can teach people how to do it. It will grow them and make them so much more appreciative of the business that you give them. And so, I can't recommend you enough. Just from we've never spoken before. This is the first time we've met. And I've learned a ton myself. So, I encourage everybody to reach out to Adam, find out more. I think he knows more about this than most anybody I know in our space. And especially when it's focused on real estate, I think you're going to get a ton from it. So I can't recommend it enough. So Adam, thank you very much for coming on. We'll definitely have to have you on again sometime, because I love nerding out on this stuff. And especially when I get to talk to people that know way more about it than me, it's very exciting. So I appreciate it.
Heck yeah. Thanks for having me on, Mike. I had a blast, dude.
All right. Well, thanks for everybody that stuck around. We'll be back next week. I'll have my market update back out on Monday. We'll talk more about all the fun stuff happening with interest rates and the housing market. And I'll try not to be sad and depressive about it when I tell you where the numbers are headed. So everybody have a great week, and we will see you next time. Thanks, guys.